There we go. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar in our Informed Voices Media Literacy series. We are thrilled to have you join us tonight for an insightful discussion on a topic that affects all of us, stereotypes in entertainment, media, and advertising. My name is Shalala Mehmedli, and I'm your host for this evening. I'm a secondary school English teacher, a visiting lecturer at the Faculty of Journalism at Baku State University, and one of the founding members of STEP Azerbaijan, which stands for Society for Teaching Excellence and Progress. And along with me is my co-host, respected Mr. Mudassar Majid from Pakistan, a media in charge professional and a visiting lecturer at Faisalabad University. We are honored to welcome our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. George Jologua, an assistant professor from Caucasus University, Georgia. He brings a wealth of expertise and experience in media studies, which makes him the perfect guide for tonight's discussion. But before we dive into the topic, just a few quick notes. Attendees who participate in at least 4 out of 6 webinars in this series and successfully complete the quiz at the end of each session will receive a special certificate from STEP Azerbaijan. And we encourage you to actively engage by sharing your thoughts and questions in the comment section throughout the webinar, and we'll address your questions during the Q&A session at the end. So, Dr. Jologua, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am truly honored to be here and to be presenting to you and your audience. And I'm very grateful to the organizers for inviting me and giving me such a wonderful opportunity to address my colleagues and other people interested in media education, in media literacy, media studies. I am particularly happy that I was invited by educators because in my experience, when educators are involved in media literacy, that's when we get success. Because I come from Georgia, and I can very briefly tell you the history of media literacy in Georgia. Media literacy, this topic has been very popular for the past at least 10 years, maybe even more. But the problem was that it was never about education. We had huge funding available from international donor organizations, and local civic society organizations were mainly the ones who were working on these issues. I was one of them. I used to work in civic society organizations as well. But the problem there was that the approach of integrating media literacy into formal education was neglected for quite some time. So I wanted to underline this because I have been researching media literacy for at least 15 years, including 4 years of my doctoral studies in Spain. I was researching media literacy, and the one conclusion that I have found through all my research is that unless educators are involved, unless formal educational system is involved, there will be no true success in terms of moving forward. And moving forward means spreading media literacy and helping our societies, local and global societies, to become more media literate. So that is why I'm so much thankful for Shalala and colleagues that I'm very happy to see that educators have taken the initiative to do it, because this is the only way to achieve some success. Let me open my very brief presentation, which I have prepared for today's meeting. Today, I will be speaking about stereotypes, standards, which are built up in our brains through entertainment media, through advertising. And afterwards, if there are questions from the audience, we could also speak about media literacy in a more broader way. But meanwhile, let me quickly present to you what I have collected about. Just a second, please. I have to admit that it's my first time on this platform, so I have to. So I guess if I share my screen, it would be nice. Okay. Okay, could you confirm that you can see my presentation, please?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, then I apologize, and I will try another way to do it. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to need a few more seconds.
No problem.
Yes, I feel that I'm taking up some precious time from the participants. Okay, can you view my screen? Can you see my screen now, my presentation?
No, sir, yet it is not visible. So if it is not, I think so, you cannot do it right now because there might be some technical error or something like that. So you can speak orally, you can just share the information because right now it's only you are visible and whatever you want to share, that is not visible,
Mr.
unfortunately.
Mudassar, we have here present button, so doesn't it work? I mean,
Yes, I'm trying to do it through the present button. Then I press share screen, and then I choose a window or entire screen. I press share, and it tells me that the screen is shared now. It even suggests me an option to stop sharing. So this is why I'm confused of why you don't see the screen.
So right now you are visible and you screen is yours right now. That you can are only visible and you can share whatever you want.
Okay,
you are
maybe.
our specialist on this platform, Mr. Mudassar. So please help us.
So
Share.
right now, so George is on the screen, main screen, and he can share whatever he can. Right now, his screen is in his hand.
Is there any other way to share it?
Okay, I'm trying another way. It asks me to upload the file, so maybe I can do it really quick. And let's see.
Yes, no problem.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's uploading.
yes, yeah, I can see slides and PDFs. Yes, I guess it should be done through this. Yeah. Am I right, Mr. Mudassar?
It is loading now. Let's have a look how it will work.
Yeah. It says you have no slides, so we have to upload it. Yeah.
It is processing now, so let's give it a second.
We have all the time in the world. No worries.
Okay, good. Yes, I hope we are not delaying something which comes afterwards. Okay, so. Okay, it shows me that it's here. So on the bottom of the screen, I see myself in a small screen, and next to me there is my presentation uploaded. And now the question is, how do I make it visible to you?
Or maybe we should try share screen button.
Or maybe you could switch. Do you get an option to switch from my face to the presentation? Maybe you get this option from your side as an admin.
Okay, if it's uploaded, maybe we should start from the very beginning, present and then share slides. Let's
Okay,
type.
sir, you can do like that. Yeah, what are the things that are written over there in front of you in the form of the screen? You can present orally so that later on you can share that information over there in comments box so that those people who just want to get information, they
But we
can.
want to
They
see the
can.
slides, Mr. Mudassar. That's
But,
why.
but the thing is that
My slides are only images, so I have to show you the image. It's only images. I don't
Okay.
have any data. I don't have any bullet points. It's only images. I want to show you what I'm speaking about. So maybe I could try also another way. Okay. Maybe.
That's how we learn many things, through practice.
Yes, exactly. Okay, no, I don't get any success with this format because I have uploaded the presentation. Okay.
Yes, we can see it. Perfect.
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes. Okay. Sorry for keeping you waiting, but
You're welcome.
when we come to technology, these things happen quite often. So let me continue from where we were, and I am going to present you a brief presentation about stereotypes in entertainment media and advertising. So again, why was I so grateful and happy that Shalala addressed me? I already said that I'm always happy to see educators involved in media literacy, and I guess media literacy is such a subject that when we start speaking about media literacy, we have to at least very briefly mention what we mean by media literacy, because people have such different understandings of media literacy, and one American researcher, James Potter, said in an interview that if you ask 100 people what is media literacy, you will receive 150 answers. So everyone will give you different answers. And also, I have heard some media literacy educators saying that the problems with media literacy begin as soon as we start speaking about media literacy, because this is the definition. How do we define media literacy? And I honestly have some fun with my students, asking them what is media literacy. And even by the end of the course, all of them gives different answers. But in my experience, in my almost 15 years of media literacy research, the best definition to me, which I have found and which I want to share with you, belongs to a British prominent scholar, David Buckingham, who says that media literacy is a result of teaching about the media. And I truly love this definition, because on one hand, it shows us what media literacy means, but also it shows us what we have to do in order to achieve media literacy. We have to teach about media. That's the whole point. And I guess everyone agrees that the best place for teaching is schools and universities, right? So as long as we see media literacy in schools and universities, that's when we start to take the road of success in terms of making our societies more media literate. So basically, what I'm always trying to tell my students is that let's focus on learning about media. Let's focus on learning about media, because when it comes to general literacy, we don't teach literacy, right? We teach how to read and write, and the result is literacy. We teach how to interpret and create texts, and result is literacy. And we can take the same approach towards media literacy. We have to teach about media, and the result will be media literacy. So that is how I like to make things easier, not only to explain what is media literacy, but also to offer a road of how we could achieve media literacy. And the reason why I said that working with civic society organizations and international donors has not been, it was very successful in many ways, but has not been fully successful. Why? Because we are often, as I also worked there, focused on political issues, on news and propaganda and so-called fake news and so on, which are of course very important. But by focusing only on these issues, we leave out so much of what is important to learn about media. So I always like to differentiate between immediate effects of media and long-term effects of the media, because media is such a field that every person can criticize. If you ask a person about media, tell us your opinion about media, they will speak forever. Any person, doesn't matter they know anything about media or not, because we are involved with media all day long, every day, right? Let me ask you, I cannot hear your response, but you can respond to yourself. How long does it take in the morning after you wake up until you check your phone? When I ask my students, they say a few minutes, few seconds even, maybe, right? So since we wake up in the morning, we are engaged with the media, and it goes all throughout the whole day until we go to sleep at night. So we have come to the point in time when we are in constant relationship with the media. Okay, scholars have been writing about public's engagement with media for many decades, but that's over. We are not engaged anymore. We are in constant relationship with the media. There are no more borders. When I speak to my students, I always say, my parents, for example, they used media, but then they had time which they would spend in front of media and time without media. They would sit down in front of TV, they would read a newspaper, but there was so much time when they didn't interact with the media. Today, we don't have this time anymore. Today, these lines are blurred. We don't have any more borders of when we are in relationship with media and when we are not. We are in constant relationship with media. So imagine how much influences do we get from there. I can influence you with one sentence. I could say some things that would influence you, and any of you could influence me with one sentence. And if we can influence each other with one sentence, imagine how much influences we receive when we are bombarded with media messages every day, all day long. And the reason why I speak, make a difference between immediate effects and long-term effects is that immediate effects is something that we all notice. It's very easy to notice, immediate effect. Okay, I watched a commercial and I went to buy the product. It is easy. It is an immediate effect. Or I watched some propaganda news item and I know that they are lying. This is an immediate effect. But there are so many long-term effects which we never notice, how they are formed in our heads and how they influence us. Because we are, again, in relationship with media all our lives, all day long, every day, starting from cartoons. My child now is 2.5 years old, and he can choose a cartoon on YouTube. I mean, I don't know how it happened and when he learned it, but he can choose. I'm trying not to give him a phone at all, but sometimes we do. We are people as well. We need a break sometimes, so we give him a phone. He knows how to choose a video, 2-year-old. So from the moment we are born, basically, we are interacting with media. And these little influences are coming into our hand drop by drop, and that's why we don't notice them. And school and university and formal education environment is a place where we have to teach about these long-term effects and what these effects bring. And what these long-term effects, which we often don't notice and don't recognize, what they bring is standards in our heads, which I will be talking about, stereotypes in our heads, and representations. Media, we must never forget. I mean, I know there are some educators into this meeting, and my advice would be, if you work with your students, first, let them know one thing, that media always represents something. Media is not a clean window showing you the reality. It always shows you some part of reality, some angle of reality. But we are engaged with media so much that sometimes we forget about it. And let me show you one thing that I showed my students on the very first lecture. I asked them, what is this? What would you say? What is this? Would anyone say, what is this?
Freedom. Horse is running freely.
Everyone
like
always says a horse, but forgive me, Shalala. I know everyone says horse, but the reality is that it's not a horse. It's a picture of a horse. So that's how you start speaking, especially to school children, about media. Because I have done it with maybe 1 million people, and every single one, student, professor, young, old, everyone says horse. It's not, you don't see a horse here, you see a picture of a horse. But that's how our brain operates now, because we have spent all our lives watching media, right? This is some scene from a life of a horse, which the photographer decided to show you, and then which I decided to show you. So first, we must tell our kids, our students, that there is a difference from what you see and the reality. There is always a difference. Let's say, I don't see how many people are in this group right now, but let's say 20, 50, or whatever it is. If I ask you to write an essay about this meeting, we will get 50 different essays, right? Nobody is absolutely objective. We cannot be absolutely objective. If I ask you to take a photograph of your university, I will receive so many different photographs. None of them will be exactly the same, because absolute objectivity is impossible in media. And now imagine when their goal in most cases not absolute objectivity. How far can it go? So the way I do it, I always start with this picture and let them realize that this is not a horse, this is a picture of a horse, and you can apply this to every single type of media. What are you watching, you ask? They respond, war in Ukraine. No, you are not watching war in Ukraine. You are watching what media is showing you about war in Ukraine. What are you watching? Gaza. No, you are watching what media is telling you and showing you about Gaza. What are you watching? Paris, streets of Paris. No, this is what the movie maker decided to show you about streets of Paris. It's not streets of Paris. So you can apply this approach to every single type of media. And this is where we need to develop our critical skills by remembering that media always represents something. And in these representations, then we have problems. Then we have big problems because, again, because of these long-term effects, which we don't notice, but they bring up us so many stereotypes and standards in our heads. So first, also to educators, what I would like to advise how to begin with your students, what I always do with university students or school students, there is something called third-person effect, which means that most people claim the media affects society, but very few people admit that it affects them. They did a research in the United States. They asked people, do you think media affects people? And more than 80% said yes. And then they asked them, do you think media affects you? And less than 20% said, yes, it affects me. So people always believe that media affects somebody else. So what I would advise is begin your education by telling them that I am speaking about you. I always tell my students, I am speaking about myself and about you personally. I point my finger at them. I'm speaking about you because we are the audience. Media is such a topic, it's easy to criticize. It is easy to laugh about. We all have our own ideas, but somehow most of people believe that when we speak about media's influences and media's effects, we are speaking about somebody else. But no, we are speaking about ourselves. And maybe we don't notice these long-term effects in ourselves. Maybe we can be a little bit media literate on our own and believe that, okay, I'm smarter than the others, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, what you see, this immediate effect. But there are so many long-term effects which you don't realize, which are created drop by drop in your brain throughout your life. And another reason why I believe that schools should pay more attention to this is that civic society organizations, international donors, they are always focused on politics, on propaganda, fake news, and so on, but which is of course very important. But most of these long-term effects come from entertainment media, from advertisement, which have huge effects on all of us. And our students, our school students, they deserve to learn about this. Because my question is always, Before this meeting, I was just speaking to Shalala that in my country, media literacy is very popular, but when you say let's teach it at schools, then they are doubtful. But how else are you going to teach? I mean, how else are you going to teach, right? Because our children, our students, they deserve to learn this. They need to learn this because this, what I'm going to speak about further, this affects their daily lives in a very, very real way. So this is why we should focus not only on political issues, which are of course very important. Nobody would doubt that. Especially in our region, we see what is going on all around our region right now. And of course, all these military conflicts are accompanied by hybrid warfares and propaganda and so on, as always in history. I mean, Egyptian pharaohs also used war propaganda. There is nothing new to this. But while understanding how important these issues are, we should also, of course, focus on other effects which are not political, but which affect our students in a very real and direct manner. And one is entertainment media, like your favorite TV shows, which we watch. And I deliberately show you 3 of my favorite TV shows, not to think that I'm criticizing someone. No, I love these shows. But at the same time, I realize that they are so misleading in terms of demographic representation. These are just examples, of course. I'm not speaking about these 3 particular shows. I'm just showing you my favorite. But research shows that age, ethnicity, gender, marital status, looks, and socioeconomic status in entertainment media are very, very different from real-life demographics. So who you see in these famous TV shows do not in any case represent the demographics of a society. Of course, now I'm speaking about American shows because the whole world is watching American shows and it is easier for me to discuss it. But every educator, of course, can be motivated to discuss it on examples of local shows. In a Georgian classroom, I usually try to discuss Georgian shows watching at the moment, and any educator can do this. But American movies are easy to analyze because we all watch them on one side, and on the other hand, much research done in the United States, so it helps us to compare. And why are these stereotypes bad? Why are these standards building in our brains bad? So stereotypes damaging only the one stereotype, but this is damaging us who have stereotypes in our heads. So the one who has stereotypes about other people is damaged well enough, right? Like the person who is represented in a stereotypical way. Why? It hurts our self-esteem. For example, Friends, really fun TV show. I enjoyed it a lot. Researchers calculated that with their jobs, these characters with their jobs would never be able to afford apartments near Central Park in New York. So why is it important to me? Why is it important to my student? Because you don't have to feel like a loser if you have the same job and cannot afford an apartment near the Central Park. This is just one simple example. And of course, racial representation. For example, 2.5 Men, the show which I loved, only had once a black character in the whole series, and he was extremely dangerous. He was dangerous. Everybody was scared of him. So these are the small things. These are the small things which build up in our brains and which we don't notice immediately. But they, and of course, visual representation. Usually, all the actors in TV shows are very good looking, and if someone is a little bit different, like in Seinfeld, which is a little bit overweight and bald, he's a lousy character. He is a loser. So that's a big issue. Another research conducted that it was estimated that more than 74% of American population was overweight, but in TV shows only 6% of males and 2% of females were overweight. Again, why is it bad? So what is wrong with this? What is wrong with this is that media is building a worldview in our heads. Media plays a lot of role how we see ourselves and people around us. So if the 74% of American population is overweight, then it should not be such an exclusion of including 2%. Why? Because then you think that being overweight is something unacceptable and so on and so on. Of course, I'm not going into the issues of health and so on, but I'm speaking about the representation by the media. All this entertainment media, and I will speak that now they are trying to make it better, but these are very, very small steps, taken quite late. So most of media which we encounter with still build up the stereotypes and these standards in our heads. And the problem is then we start comparing ourselves and people around us to the standards. So let me very briefly speak about standards. We usually speak about stereotypes, which is of course a big issue, but standards, this is to me personally, when it comes to media, this is what I'm trying to counter the most, because standards are tricky. Standards make us compare. So you build a standard in your head, thanks to the media, and then you start comparing yourself and others. You're beginning to compare to this standard. And the tricky part here is that is not the standard. And let me discuss it on the example of female body. But okay, before that, I wanted to also mention one point I forgot. If you would like, because it's not only like body images and so on, but also we get all these political stereotypes and standards, not only from news media, but from entertainment media as well. And to all educators, I would recommend watch interviews of Edward Said. He was a prominent scholar, one of the greatest minds of 20th century. He was an American, but with Palestinian origins, and he had this theory of Orientalism, that Western societies see East, and especially Middle East, he was focused on Middle East, through a lens of Orientalism, through some completely misleading representation in news and in popular culture, like entertainment media and so on and so on. And what Edward Said always questioned is how does it affect what is actually happening in the Middle East? Now, I know this is a very, very hard topic. I know that the conflict is very complicated and probably the most complicated conflict in the on the whole planet right now, what is happening in Gaza. And we are not, of course, discussing this issue, but what we see is that question asked by Edward Said: what if we represented the situation as it is and not some mysterious? Because he analyzes cartoons and movies that Arabs and especially Middle East people are presented as some mystery, strange, barbaric characters. Even in cartoons and in popular movies, this region is shown as something outside of this world and something where time is really not moving, and they are still in the deserts and so on and so on. So we are not speaking about news media and politics here, but you could use, you could read his books, but you could also listen to his interviews on YouTube. The last interview he gave just before passing away in 2003. This is a great educational resource for your students. You could watch the interview together in the classroom, because he speaks about what is the cost of such misleading representation of people from the Middle East in Western popular culture. And now jumping back to the standards which I was speaking about, is body images in advertising. This is one of the biggest issues to me, issue of interest, how body images are represented in advertising. Because research shows, now we don't have there are some numbers, but I cannot take responsibility over any number, but research shows that the number of teenage girls with the syndrome of body dissatisfaction, depression is extremely high. Girls all around the world are facing body dissatisfaction syndrome. Your students are facing this. And further research suggests that most of it comes from the standards created in our heads through portrayal of women bodies and this image of beauty, and I would put beauty in quotes because beauty is a different thing. My mother is beautiful to me, so she doesn't look like what we see in advertising posters. So I use the word beauty in quotes, but that's the beauty standard which advertisers are trying to promote. And the big problem here is that they are suggesting us that standard is something which is really not a standard. It's not a standard. So they did the research. I will give you a reference to another interesting teaching resource which you could use in the classroom. They did the research that only 5% of American women have the type of body which they show in commercials. So when something is less than 5%, it's not a standard. Something, if it is less than 5%, is not a standard. But when you see it all the time, every day, everywhere, your brain starts to believe that that is the standard. And then you start comparing yourself and people around it to the standard, which is not a standard. So the whole situation is a fraud. It's not a standard. Your brain started to believe it is a standard. And that's why we have so many depression in teenage girls. So many, all these filters and so on in their social media photographs trying to look perfect, because they are trying to achieve something which is unachievable. It is impossible to achieve, and let me tell you why. Because none of these models actually looks like we see them on these posters. So it is less than 5%, which we see, we think that is a standard. It's less than 5%, and even this 5% is shown to you after lots of makeup, lighting, and Photoshop. All of them are Photoshopped. And this is what we have to tell our students in school, that this is not a standard. Do you know what I tell my students? Go to the metro, look around, and that is the standard. Because nobody around me looks like this, but it doesn't mean that we are ugly, right? But in the minds of little girls and boys, these standards are built up and they start comparing. Girls are comparing themselves to this, and boys are comparing their girls and women around them to this, which is not a standard. This does not even exist, what they are showing us. So this is a quote from famous top model Cindy Crawford. Once she said, "I wish I looked like Cindy Crawford." She herself admitted that she doesn't look like what you see because there is so much makeup and so on and so on. And so here is the resource. The movie is called Killing Us Softly 4 by John Kilburn. You might not show it to your students because there is a lot of nudity in the movie, because she's showing all the most extreme cases of advertising, but you can certainly watch it and make some notes for you and choose what you want to share with your students. And what she's sharing with us is that most of these women don't even exist. And she's showing an interview with the editor of a magazine, a popular fashion magazine, who says that sometimes they put a photo on the cover of a woman which does not even exist. So they take eyes of one woman, nose of another woman, lips of another woman, make a photo and put it on the cover of the magazine. So what we have to explain to our students, to little girls and boys, is that you are trying to look like something which does not even exist. Nobody looks like this. Look at this picture. This is from an advertisement. No woman in the world can look like this. This is all Photoshop. This is all editing, and so on and so on. So, this is a very, very important issue and a very good example of long-term effects which we don't notice, but we might suffer all our life because of this. And you, as an educator, you could spend one lesson to this. One lesson. I don't believe that one lesson can change the world, but it can contribute a lot. If you explain to your students what we just spoke about, that first of all, this is not a standard. Your brain builds up a standard because that's what you see all the time. But in fact, they are exception. What you see on the posters on the street and on the internet, they are exceptions. But your brain believes that they are a standard because your brain sees it all the time. And one more video which I wanted to show you, and then I'm going to finish, and you are welcome to ask questions. Okay, there is another magazine cover which says "Slim down your way," and there is so much Photoshop used. So the real lady is on the left, and on the right it is the same lady, which is telling us how to slim down, how to lose weight, but she is actually using Photoshop to slim down. So you have to, the internet is full of examples like this. Search for them, make sure that they are credible, and then show it to your students that none of what you see is real. All these women, okay, sometimes they have different body shapes and so on, but there is so much editing after that one. There is so much Photoshop, there is so much, and I wonder if I can play a video from here. No, I cannot play. I have embedded a video into this one, into my presentation, but we have opened it with a different style. So I wonder how could I show you. So you could go on your own to YouTube and type Dove. Dove is a brand of this how is it called, soaps and perfume for ladies, and is it on now?
We can hear some sounds.
Yeah, it sounds like it's on, but I don't see it. Okay, maybe I broke something. I don't know. And you can go to YouTube and type Dove body evolution, and you will find this video, which is 1 minute long video, which shows you how they work on these models. So the video, I wish I could turn it on now, but it doesn't matter. It is very easy to find on YouTube. The video shows with a woman, I don't know, looks are a matter of taste, but she is not, let's say, she doesn't look like women look on posters. And then it's a 1 minute long video showing you how much editing they do to the final image of what you see on the poster. And to me, these videos, there are two videos like this. They have been the best. Actually, we can comment here, right? There is a comment section. Why don't can I write a comment here, or I would send the link in comments?
Yes, sure.
No, when I go to private chat section, then I can comment. But when I go to comments, then I cannot comment. But maybe I will send it as a private message, and you could share it with the participants if it's possible. It will take 1 second.
You can send that text, that link over there in the chat box, and then Madam Shalala will be sharing in the text.
Okay, just 1 second, please. So
And our participants, they are also active. I can see their comments here. They are writing that, nowadays even photos and videos created by AI are very popular on social media. And what is surprising, they have social media accounts and even follow us. And also they do this in food advertisement as well.
Okay. There is so much to be done in a classroom in terms of how healthy lifestyle, how food is represented in media, and what is actually about entertainment media. We could also speak about it. One research suggests that none of these TV show characters eat healthy. None of them eat healthy, especially in older shows, but they all look healthy. So how come you never eat healthy? You never work out. They never work out. They never eat healthy, and somehow they are healthy all the time. So this is also an issue of media literacy and stereotypes and standards which could be approached. So I don't know who is reading this private chat which I have here, but I sent two links here. If you click on the private
Yes.
chat, and if you could share this with the participants, these are amazing two videos which I always use with my
So, Madam
students.
Shalala, would you share? Madam Shalala, would you copy and put that comment, that link
Yes,
in the?
I'm
In
going to do it
the
right now. Yes.
okay. Okay. Go ahead and please share that. Yes, it is. It is shared here. Yes. So there is a that link over there in the comment section, so audience can get connected with that video as well. So go ahead, sir. That's very marvelous.
Okay, so if you could share it, if not, I think my presentation has come to an end. And if you are asking for a solution, my answer to any problem is media literacy, because in this case, media literacy, and by media literacy I mean teaching about media in schools and universities. What we spoke about right now, your students, your children around you, they deserve to know it. And it might take 1 hour of your life as a teacher to dedicate one class to this topic, and that might change a lot. Because again, when it comes to some big projects about media literacy and big funds and so on, we are mainly focused on politics, on immediate effects, what I call immediate effects, on propaganda, which is very important, of course, but there is so much more that also deserves our attention, like the stereotypes and standards which I have discussed right now. Okay, I hope I did not go over my share of time too much. And if there are any questions or comments, I would be very happy to hear or to answer the question.
Yes, we have some
Okay.
questions. Mr.
Yes,
Mudassar?
definitely. Yes, definitely. We have some questions. So right now, it's a very comprehensive presentation that Sir George has given right now. So in this regard, the very first question that I would like to ask over here, that what are some common stereotypes in media and ads that people might not notice, because some of the things uh, go unnoticed.
That's how I begin my presentation. These are stereotypes, standards, and representations. These are the basic components of what people usually don't notice so easily. The standards which are built in our brain, the stereotypes which are built in our brain and which damage us at the first place, and then the representation. We are so much engaged with the media that sometimes our brain keeps forgetting that we are seeing a representation of something. We are not seeing the actual fact. We are not seeing what actually happened, but we are seeing the representation of that. So that would be the 3 blocks of what people usually don't see so easily. Could I have a look at the messages here and Shalala,
Yes,
should I look at the
Madam
message?
Shalala, right now, Madam Shalala, right now would be going to ask the question.
And now I have shared these links with our audience, and
Nice.
some of them said that they were aware of these videos, they have watched them. This is good indeed. And I wanted to ask one question. We have talked about stereotypes, and someone was mentioning that especially those stereotypes affect teenagers. Um, so how can they affect especially kids, that their perception of the world?
Of course, when it comes to media literacy education, we are not giving them some knowledge which they need right now, but gives them some knowledge that they will use throughout life, like in other parts of education and other subjects. But at the same time, of course, children are more vulnerable to media effects. And it might be very obvious on one hand, but also there is a lot of research. You could see James Potter's works, his books, Media Literacy. He discusses very in much detail how children are specifically vulnerable towards media effects, because, well, we understand more, we are more critical, we have done more mistakes, but for children, these are easy, quite difficult to understand. And this research goes on forever of media's effects on children. I can tell you one story of my own experience. I was at my friend's house, and their kid, which is 5 years or 4 or 5 years old, was playing something in his phone. So I sat down next to him. I wanted to rest, and I see that there is a computer game that some people are entering a room, and you are shooting at them from a machine gun, and it gives you points, golden points for this. So I asked this kid, why are you shooting these people? And he responds, to receive golden coins. And why do you need golden coins? To buy a better machine gun. And why do you need a better machine gun? To kill more people. Okay, I don't believe, and no research shows that you will grow up and you will become a murderer. But when at the age of 4, you are engaged in an activity where you have to kill people to get gold, I think these issues need much more attention and much more research, because any type of media leaves a trace in our minds. Every type of media leaves something. There is a lot of discussion about how computer games represent conflicts, because when we speak about computer games, we always speak about who is playing too much, like how many hours they are playing, are they addicted or not. But do we think about the scenarios that is going on in these games? How do our kids learn about wars from these computer games? How do they see Western military, Eastern military, and so on, Soviet military, and so on and so on? So, no media message in the world is neutral completely. They always send us some messages, and of course, we need to research so much more about what children are receiving. And the biggest difficulty here is that it is very difficult to measure. When do you measure? When do you measure the effect which a 5-year-old received now? Will he become more violent? Can I measure it after 25 years? This is very difficult. So these issues need really, really deep approach.
Thank you so much. You have kindly shared with us examples, let's say negative examples of brands or movies that that spread stereotypes. But do we have any good examples of brands or movies that did well in avoiding stereotypes?
Yes and no. Yes, we have good examples, but they are still look like some experiments. Okay, in what we call Western world, like Western Europe, United States, okay, they are more and more, they are adding little bit oversized, what they call some plus size or whatever it is models, and it's gaining popularity. But let's not forget that because this is one of the issues of media literacy. I tell my students, they think that what's happening in United States and Western Europe, that's what's happening in the world. And no, we are just watching that, but there are billions and billions of people outside of Western Europe and United States. So if some companies are experimenting, doing something nice, and they are improving, this is one drop in an ocean. This is one drop in an ocean. Hopefully it will get better and better. But we have such a long tradition of complete misrepresentation, especially of women in entertainment, media, and advertising, that it would take ages. It would take ages to replace these standards in our heads. It's all about what is programmed into our heads.
Yes, sir. Dr. George, I would like to ask a question that was coming in my mind and that was really creating curiosity as well. That a lot of people, these days are using some, AI pictures over there in which it looks like a real one, and it's very hard to get it that whether it is real or fake. So that time, the people are trying to give justification over there on different social media platforms that this is not the real picture or fake picture. Then what are the tools that so that we can judge that this is not the fake or this is not the true, and what we can find out? Because on being a media literacy student, we always try to find out the real things. In this way, I would like to ask that how we can find out the real picture of the things, because we are, being a critical evaluator of the things in this regard. So we just need to know that how and how we can get some information.
That's a good question. I read now that some of European photographers don't go to Asia anymore to take photos of Asian models, but they ask AI to create a photograph of an Asian model. Because this is so much cheaper than taking a flight, a hotel, and so on and so on. And of course, this is coming. Of course, more of it will come. And my idea of approaching AI tools is the same as I would approach any other media. Ask the source. But I know it's not as easy as it sounds. But when it comes to, social media, does it really matter if AI created this image or it was created through Photoshop or whatever it is? If it is doctored, it is doctored, right? So when it comes to teaching our students about it, I would add AI as just one of the options to edit photos, to make fake photos. So I would not concentrate only on AI. This is a sort of continuation of the problems. Before they did it with Photoshop, then they did it with maybe a better Photoshop. Now they can do it with AI. Now they, of course, can create completely unexisting women which do not exist in real life with AI. So that's especially important why we should teach this to young girls now, until it's too late. And yes, to answer your question, how can we tell a difference? We cannot. we cannot tell a difference. We can ask the source. And I think we should approach these AI-generated images in the same manner as we approach any other image, because the ideas are the same.
Okay, sir. So there is I think Madam Fakhriya, I think so. She has asked a question that do you think that the only one lesson about media literacy will be enough? What else can we do as a teachers and a parents?
No, that's a very good question, because even if you teach media literacy throughout the whole semester, you can dedicate 1 or 2 meetings to one topic, right? Because there are so many topics. You cannot dedicate one whole semester to the topic of advertising, for example, or stereotypes. But on the other hand, what I spoke now, of course, it was very brief, but if you extend it a little bit, wouldn't that bring some positive change in your students' understanding of the standards? I believe that yes, it would bring at least a little bit. What else could you do? If you're at school, you can always make a sort of a media literacy club, which I'm trying to organize now, which is always a good idea, where teacher, students, and parents sit down together and discuss media. And believe me, you don't have to be a media literacy expert or media expert. You just put all these people into one room and manage the debate. The results will be wonderful. You can try it once. Ask your students to bring parents one day. You sit down and you ask each other these questions, which we are asking each other now, and you will come to the you will see how much you will change. So I believe that one lesson, well, one lesson can be like 2 hours lesson, or however the teacher wants to divide it, but I think it can bring some change. In general, I don't think that any lesson can change the world, but it can bring some positive change. And more than that, you can always engage into informal or semi-formal education settings like clubs and so on and so on.
Okay. So over to you, Madam Shalala. So anything that you want to ask, anything more about the things that the topic that we are going to discuss today. So you may ask. Because right now a lot of people are taking interest in asking different questions. So definitely the presentation was what very much answered about. So that time in presentation, a lot of questions were answered over there as well. And even though I have read a lot of questions, so all those questions cleared in the presentation, so it's a very difficult thing for me to ask those questions again and again. That's why I would definitely skip those questions which I have already written and was thinking that I would ask. But overall, it's perfect and definitely all the things clear through your presentation and a very effective one by giving helpful examples and by coding different things. And definitely, it's very interesting at the same time, very productive session that is going on still. But I would ask Madam Shalala, would you like to ask any question
I
related to
like
your thing?
I liked how someone mentioned that the best way is to avoid the media and not to believe it at all. But we all know that it's not a solution, that we cannot do it, unfortunately.
The reason why we need media literacy is exactly because we cannot avoid media. How can we
Yes.
avoid media?
Yes.
Even if I go and live in a forest, at some point I will get engaged with the media. So we cannot avoid media, and that's exactly why we need media literacy. And we cannot forbid and control. Okay, I have 2 children, and what I have learned is that if I forbid something, they find a way to do it.
Yeah.
They will find a way to do it. So this is why all these restrictions and forbidding, I don't know if it works for someone, they can try, but I think empowering children with knowledge
Yes.
is much a better solution than avoiding media or forbidding media, which would be, of course, impossible. So that's the whole idea of media literacy education, that we have to empower them with necessary skills and competencies to critically evaluate all these media messages around us.
We just have to learn how to live with it, how to deal with it. That's the only way, I
Of
think.
course.
So I would like to ask, I would like to quote an example over here that most probably are huge teachers who used to teach a media or something like that. So he was, and then he quoted in a very funny way that he said that the very first media ever that was, originated on the female end. The students asked that how. He said that most probably anything if you want to share, if you want to announce, so you have to silently go to any female and say that this thing has happened. And definitely within a minute, within a day, that thing would be going spreading like a fire in the forest. So the same thing, same thing, the same way he mentioned that go to any girl and any female and say that please don't share that information. And definitely that information will be spreading in a few hours. So that is a most probably he used to quote or mention the example like in the form of a media that spreading of fake or misinformation or disinformation in the context of female. But that is just somewhat like a funny, but not something like on based on reality. But that is somewhat like in Pakistan, some of the teachers used to give examples like that, and especially some of the female who are living in remote areas, so they have nothing to do with. All the time they're just working in their homes, and their husbands are working in the different fields and different, and all the time they have nothing to do with. They in this way they used to do what they used to share some of the information that what has happened to the next neighbor and what has happened to the next neighbor, and whole day all women gather at one point and start sharing that. Do you know that what has happened? And right now I'm gonna share this information from that and that. Do you know about that? Her husband has done what? And then start information and growing and flourishing from different angles, floating information in different contexts. So this is somehow about the medium of a female as well. I would say that media is most probably associated in some areas, like in Pakistan. So that is some considered to be like a associated or originated by the female. And so that was somewhat like a funny from some context. So you
Yes.
might have some different things.
And we always have to think about context because our job is hard. We cannot simply translate all the good works from United States and United Kingdom and so on because media are so different. I also teach in Tashkent University. I teach online in Uzbekistan. When I come to this topic, they say they don't have any naked girls on the streets because it's forbidden. It's not a part of their culture. So they grew up without seeing any of this. They saw these half naked women in advertising only after they started using smartphones and they went to internet because on the streets they don't have women like this type of pictures on the street. So yes, context is always very, very important to consider because media. I remember one quote that media is not a part of our culture anymore. Media is our culture. So media is our culture. So our cultures are different. So we have to take different approaches.
Cultural
Definitely.
context, it matters a lot. Yeah.
Of course.
Mr. Mudassar, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I have asked all the questions that most probably were associated with the topic, and that was, I guess that all the questions that I was asking definitely cleared by the Dr. George, and definitely he has some sort of speciality in that particular field, which he has shared based on media literacy and all that. So really enjoy it and very informative session it was, and definitely a lot of people who are associated with that session gain a lot of information, and not only just I'm saying, but also I'm just checking the comment section that a lot of people are taking interest and asking different questions about that, and that shows that a lot of people are engaging with that beautiful, I would say, that more informative session that is going on, and they're taking interest. And even though I haven't seen that, a lot of people are going live and watching that session and asking questions. That shows their interest. Definitely, they are getting information and a lot of knowledge about the topic. So it is very interesting topic as well, and not it is this basically media literacy is a worldwide topic in which right now the world has become a global village just because of our media. So whether it is social media, whether it is mainstream media and all that. So we are right now connected with that. That is also a form of a media. Right now we are getting connected and we're just trying to sharing information, knowledge, and ideas, whatever we have. So that's form of media, and definitely we are getting literate. We're getting literacy through the media, and definitely we are and enjoying and getting information and trying to share the information. Definitely, a lot of people will be enjoying that session, and I hope so. In the near future, in the next sessions, in the next upcoming next sessions, a lot of people will take more interest. Definitely, they will be gaining a lot of helpful information and knowledge and ideas and information which is based on media spaces, and that would be very handy and fruitful for them as well in upcoming research papers and articles and by adding different examples and so on. So for me, on my end, definitely I gained a lot of information and really appreciate Dr. George, his efforts and his presentation so that he has presented. It's really marvelous.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you. I would just like to thank you, Dr. George Jologua, for. I hope that I don't mispronounce your surname.
no, that's a very, very exceptional that somebody pronounces my name correctly. You pronounce it correctly. Yes, it doesn't
Uh,
happen often. It doesn't happen often that my name is pronounced correctly. Okay.
So I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to you for, first of all, accepting our invitation and for sharing your expertise and shedding light on such an important and interesting topic as stereotypes in entertainment media and advertising. Thank you so much. And also a big thank you to my co-host, Mr. Mudassar Majid, for his great support and collaboration. And of course, thank you to our wonderful audience for their active participation and the thoughtful questions. We look forward to seeing all of them at our next session. So thank you and have a great evening.
I would also like to thank you. It was a great pleasure and honor to be here with you, and I wish you all the success in your work in terms of education, in terms of media education, and I'm sure that we will have more work to do together because there is so much work to do, and we can always share our work.
Yes,
Yes,
sure.
definitely, sir. Because this live streaming is going live on in Azerbaijan, in Pakistan, in India, as well as in Georgia. If you will be
Nice.
sharing that link, so definitely that this beautiful section, I would say session that was informative session. I would say that was would be visible and audible for the people who have some interest based on that particular topic based on media literacy, and definitely they will be gaining information. So it is crossing the border. Your voice is crossing the borders, and definitely that is a, very. I would say that should be the person who have knowledge should be spoken, and I would say should be spoken. Like more effectively, so that some people would listen and gain information by not airing about the borders, but by spreading the sound, spreading the information through the gestures, the information, the knowledge. And I would say just like as beauty is reflected through the facial expression, the knowledge is also reflected through the conversation when one person speaks, when one person shares information and ideas and all that. So it is also a form of a beauty as well. I would say along with the facial beauty, it is another thing I would say more powerful than the facial beauty that one is sharing information and that is very truthful information and in which people are gaining information, people are following, people are keenly watching that information, knowledge, and those ideas that someone is sharing. So without caring about the things, they are just putting focus on the person that what he or she is speaking about. So that is a great thing, and definitely you would be rewarded. The people who would be gaining information from this session, definitely they will be appreciating and acknowledging your sort of expertise that you have shared along with us. So I'm looking forward to have another one as well. So in the next session, we will be collaborating with you again. So thank you very
I
much,
have no words.
Dr.
I have no words. I have no words. That was the best way to finish our our.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. George.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you and see you.